Thailand's tourism industry has collapsed. Hotels are struggling, beaches are deserted, and businesses are begging for customers. But while this is a disaster for tourism, it could be the best opportunity ever for retirees and expats. Not long ago, Thailand was one of the most visited countries in the world, welcoming nearly 40 million international travellers a year. The streets of Bangkok were bustling, beaches were packed, and the tourist industry made up a huge part of the country's economy. But today things look very different. International arrivals have plummeted, hotel occupancy rates have collapsed, and thousands of businesses that once thrived on tourism are struggling just to survive. This sudden downturn has left many of Thailand's most famous destinations almost unrecognisable. Across Asia, the tourism story looks very different, guys, where you go. For example, guys, in China, the domestic tourism is booming. Millions of tourists are filling up popular sites, hotels are packed, and destinations are crowded again. And I've witnessed this firsthand when I've been traveling to China over the last few years. There is a lot of domestic tourism. It really surprised me when I was traveling around China, just how many people domestically travel. I didn't really think it was a big thing in China, but yeah, it's an absolutely massive thing in China. Whenever you go anywhere touristy in China, it's packed. There's people everywhere. And the setup is amazing. You go to a mountain and they put stairs right going to the top. So you start at the bottom. There's literally a staircase right up to the top of the mountain. This is all across China. The government has spent a hell of a lot of money on tourism in China. But just across the border in Thailand, the situation couldn't be more different. And while this is a crisis for hotels and tour operators in Thailand, for retirees and long-term visitors, it creates a very different reality, guys. Cheaper accommodation, more relaxed living, and the chance to experience Thailand's beauty without the chaos of mass tourism. Okay, let's break it down. So why is it the best time to move or retire in Thailand? So the first would be the lower cost of living. You know, rent's a lot cheaper in Thailand at this time. You know, the rents have come down. Even we've just rented a house out and had to put the rent down a little bit because of, you know, a few situations that's happened over here. You know, they had the conflict with Cambodia. I think that affected things a little bit. People are a bit more wary about how much money they're spending. They're scared what's going to happen in Thailand a little bit. Long-term stays, you know, you can get some really good long-term deals if you book in for like a year, 2 years. And there's some proper good deals you can get at the moment, guys, in Thailand. The next would be like a lifestyle upgrade, you know, upgrading your lifestyle. Coming from somewhere like the UK or America, you know, your lifestyle is going to be upgraded. You're going to be able to live by the beach probably. You're going to be able to go to restaurants a lot more than you would do back in the UK or back in America. You know, going out in these places is really expensive, and, you know, going out in Thailand to eat is pretty cheap. You can actually do this on a regular basis and not break the bank. So your quality of lifestyle is going to definitely be upgraded. And then maybe attractions and crowds are going to be less when you come over to Thailand at this moment. You know, it is very quiet. Yeah, we are in the low season, but this now is just ridiculously quiet. I've been to a few places the last few weeks and it is very, very quiet. The only place it wasn't quiet was Pattaya on a Saturday night going out in the city. But I think that's always busy, that place. The next would be the visa pathways. I mean, there's some great visas to get over in Thailand at the moment. We've got the retirement visa, the long-term resident visa. You know, a lot of people are going on this DTV visa, the Destination Thailand visa in Thailand at the moment. So these 3 visas are pretty good for, you know, retirees or expats or digital nomads coming to Thailand and want to live over here permanently, guys. There's definitely a massive community feel in some of the large expat communities over here. You know, in Bangkok, in Chiang Mai, Phuket, Hua Hin, all these places, there's massive expat communities that are just growing day by day, guys. People coming over here to retire or to work here as digital nomads or just live here as expats and got jobs in international companies or work or do some kind of work out in Thailand. I think the next thing is compare the cost, how much you would need per month you know, living in a place like Thailand instead of America or the UK. You know, you can live over here, I think, reasonably good. Yeah, a lot of people say you can live here for $1,000, but that's not true anymore. You know, I think a more realistic budget now is like $2,000 US to $2,500 US. And with this, you can have a massively better quality of life over in Thailand for this budget. Yes, you can live in the UK on this much money. Yes, you can live in America. But your standard of living over here is going to be a lot better. You know, you're going to be able to have a nicer condo. You're going to be able to have, you know, for $2,000 a month in Thailand, you can get rented modern condo with swimming pool, gym access, and city views if you're looking at living in, you know, the city. Outside, you got world-class street food for, you know, just a few dollars, guys. And, you know, eating out, even in the tourist spots, can be quite cheap at times if you look around. If you come from America especially, you know, you have to buy private health insurance. So, you know, over here it can be a lot cheaper or maybe the same price, but your quality of care is going to be twice as good. And you're going to get seen quicker, you're going to get better quality of care. This is using the international hospitals over here. The doctors, you know, speak English over in the international hospitals, you know, and in the US, this could cost you a lot more money. In the UK, I know we have the NHS, so it's a little bit different. But waiting times there are quite long now in the UK, and a lot of people do choose to go private if they're not skint. There's definitely affordable leisure like massages, weekend getaways. I think weekend getaways is a massive one, you know, on tropical islands. Suddenly this amount of money, $2,000, $2,500 a month, you know, it isn't enough to just get by. It's enough to live comfortably. I wouldn't say in a luxury lifestyle. I know I'm not stupid, you know. It would give you a middle-class life out in Thailand, but definitely be able to do things you would never be able to do in the UK on the same budget or in America. I mean, to go away in the UK, for example, for myself, you know, if you went away for the weekend, it's just like the hotels are ridiculously expensive. The food's expensive. You spend a fortune going away just for like the weekend. Where in Thailand, this is entirely doable on this budget, you know, $2,000 to $2,500 US dollars a month. And you know, some of the best places to retire and move over to Thailand, you know, a lot of people come over to Bangkok. It's very popular. It's a huge city, modern city, got great healthcare. Best thing about Bangkok, I think, is it has great connections to the rest of Thailand and the rest of the world. You can literally get everywhere very quickly from there by public transport or by driving. So this, I think, is one massive reason to live there. There's 2 international airports there that can take you all around Asia within, you know, 2 or 3, 4 hours. This is fantastic. And the prices are not too bad. Obviously, I know flight prices have gone up in previous years, but they're still doable. Just been to Guangzhou recently, and, you know, it was 7,000 baht return flight, just to give you some context on flight prices, and that was a 3-hour flight from Bangkok to Guangzhou. A lot of people choose Chiang Mai. For a lot of digital nomads, go up there to live. It's a bit more different kind of lifestyle up in the north, I think. It's a certain type of person that I think lives up there. You know, there's Phuket and Krabi right down south, which are very modern, very well established. You know, it's tropical life down there, beach life. It's probably one of the more expensive places to stay in Thailand, especially Phuket. And then you got Pattaya and Hua Hin, which are close to Bangkok. Both of them, you know, they're very popular with retirees and expats, you know, people working online too. And you've got good healthcare, good connecting towns. You know, you're close to Bangkok, you're close to other towns around Thailand too. Guys, can you do us a massive favor? Just subscribe to the channel, press the red button, thanks. It's free. And back to the video. I think some considerations you need if you're coming over to live in Thailand or retire here as an expat or retiree, you need to think about the exchange rate fluctuations, because, you know, the baht is very strong at the moment, so your money doesn't go as far as it used to do, guys. So this is something to consider. Another thing to think about is the language. You know, it is sometimes difficult living in some areas in Thailand with the language barrier. So I would suggest pick an area that's, you know, a little bit more Western. I know that sounds funny, but I think it's just easier, especially some of you guys on there. I know you're over 50, a lot of you. And, you know, learning a language, yeah, I recommend you learn the language when you come to Thailand for sure. But learning a language is not easy. It takes time, it takes a lot of commitment. And I think if you've even tried and you're over 50, then you'll know what I mean. It is tricky. Your brain doesn't work as good as it was when you're 20. You know, some guys come over here 20, 30, they get fluent really quick. For older guys like ourselves, it's a long process of learning. You can still get fluent, don't get me wrong, but it just takes a bit longer, I think. And some people are more naturally gifted at languages as well. Another thing you need to consider, you're coming over here, is a health plan, you know, a healthcare plan. Please, you know, I really recommend you get a healthcare plan before you come out to Thailand, or you get one from it within Thailand. You know, there are people that come over here and come a cropper, that's a good English phrase, because they haven't got healthcare and they come unstuck a little bit and they have to start, you know, going on this crowdfunding and all this stuff on the internet to try and raise money for operation or something like this. There is some quite famous ones on the internet about this, so just be careful with this one. I think Thailand's tourism collapse has created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to come over to Thailand to retire. So if you're thinking about retiring or locating in Asia or in Thailand, you know, this might be the perfect time to make the move. Please put a comment if you're thinking about coming over to Thailand down below. It really helps the video as well. Push out to guys like you that want to live in Thailand and retire in Thailand. Okay, guys, thanks for listening today, and we'll see you on the next video.